Hey folks, welcome to the stream tonight, and we are going to check for footsteps, right? Because earlier we set up our daemon to actually work off a physical material to generate the proper sound, okay? So basically, when you step on a carpet, now this isn't for the player at the moment, but it is for our character, our monsters. So we may have to do some changes to the monsters, the perception, so that we can get close enough to basically listen to them. Okay. Now, I'm going to set the demon guy so that he can't basically spot me. Okay. So we're going to go to AI perception, and we shall set this to 3. So he basically has to be right on top of me to even perceive me. So I should be able to follow him around. Here's a guy here. Now he is definitely making noise. Now the interesting thing here, I want to see if we go to the animation. And where do I select the correct monster for this? Okay. This is the demon. Why is it not activating the step? So he is walking. So this is bizarre. It's not actually doing this. Wow. Well, this is very, very interesting. Our monsters are not activating footsteps. He is actually doing it, but for some reason it ain't doing the breakpoint. Right, what we're going to do is we're going to say print string here. Right. And there you go, it's doing it. And what I want to do is actually print out this volume modifier. It's 0.25. Right, so that's fine. And we want to find out what the material name is. And they're walking on wood, carpet, carpet. That's fine. Okay, so the next thing should be our footstep attenuation. And what that sounds like. Right. Now the interesting thing here is where's this used, if it's used at all. It's only used in this footsteps reverb effect. Right, so it's used in a map somehow. Okay. Let's set that to 100. I don't quite understand why it's so quiet. I wonder if we set it up. It was originally at 300, right? So we need to work out what this attenuation works at. Right, it seems to me at the moment it's far too quiet. Ah, see, that seems much better. Right, I think this should be at about 1200. It was originally at 300, but that makes things fall off far too quickly. Now, the wacky thing is, the door one Right, that's good. Right, that's much, much better. Right, but the door is freaking way too loud. Right? So I'm guessing that the door, just generally the door, is much louder than right, I'm not too sure if this is the right door or not. Apparently it is. Or maybe it's not. Okay, we'll close that one for now. Okay. Right, so what we need to do here is we need to open the map. I'm going to close these down. And we'll lay out parts. Then we'll go to the door. Right, so it's not going to be in there. Right, so this is just plain. Right, so this is just plain at volume multiplier 1. And that's basically the issue here. And it's got no attenuation. Right, so these are the things that we need to solve anyway. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to say sound, actually we'll say SFX volume, and that's going to be a float. And before we do this part, well, thank you, Quasi Animation Studio. Have I seen you in here before? I vaguely remember the name, but I'm not sure. Maybe it's something similar. Right, but what I'm going to do is game instance, right? Then we're going to cast it to GI Chronicles. Right? Then we're going to get audio settings. Then we're going to break this out. And then we're going to multiply that by the FX. And then we're going to set that there. Then we're going to move out these out the way for a second. We're going to move this along a bit. And then we're going to set the SFX volume from our game instance. In fact, you know what? You know what we should do? What we should do is we should put this in a function library. Or we should we should only basically do this once. Right, and then we should get the value wherever. Right, so let's do that, shall we? So where right here. So what we'll do is we'll say return SFX volume, and we're going to new parameter is going to be volume out. And that's going to be a float. Now, I don't know if I can actually do this yet, but we'll soon find out. Get game instance. Cast to GI Chronicles. So we can do it. So fundamentally, what we want is this. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll delete that. We'll paste that. That is going to go in there. This is going to go in here. And that is that. Okay, so this is in a function library now, so we can call this from anywhere. So that is fantastic. And what we want to do is duplicate this. And we can basically say the same thing except for music. Now this isn't quite so important, but it still might be useful. Right, and the only difference here is that is going to go in there, and that will be fine. So if we now go back to our layout door, we don't need to do this. We just say return SFX volume. We could actually even make that pure. Yeah, let's do that, shall we? So we'll leave that for now. We'll go back to here. We'll make that pure. We'll save that. We'll do the same with our music one. Save that. We'll go back to here. And we shall return SFX volume. And that's going to go right in there. And now we can drag it along. What is it you're working on yourself? Quasi Animation Studios. Right, so we can basically plug this in here. And then we can basically go plonky and plonky. Now we could obviously do it like this, right? Where we could have the volume there and there. Just depends how you like it. But that should be the doors sorted out. Okay. And I do believe we pretty much need to do the same thing for this one. And yeah, we do it in this one. For some reason we do it here. But do we use it? That is the question. And we don't need to do this. So we can tidy this code up. We can drag that into there. We can say return SFX volume. And you'll notice this is a completely different blueprint, but I'm still calling the exact same function to give me the volume out. So this is number one, a lot cleaner, and these are actually done. Now have I set, we can set the footsteps. Now we can change all these later if we want, but for the moment we'll set the attenuation to the footsteps, and that should work well. Okay. That's cool. Right. So our doors opening and shutting shouldn't be so loud, and they should only happen closer. Yeah, you can hear them, but it's much further away. And I'm going to say that the drop off should be slightly more. Right, but it is kind of okay. Ah, wait a minute. Wait a goddamn minute. Yeah, I've set it in one place, but I didn't set it in the other. So when it's actually going through the other one, it's actually right. So that is better. So we get that. And then we get the volume multiplier. Right. Then we can minimize those back down again. Save that. And now this is going to work a lot better. Yep, that's much better. Right, now the thing we need to do next is go back into our animation graph, which is kind of weird, but we'll not get upset about it too much. Right. Going to find the references on this where we set it out. I'm guessing here that that is the default. It can't be. So we're basically setting this somewhere. Right, we must be setting it in the pawn or the monster when we set it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to search further for the references, and here it is here. Right, and again we're doing this thing, which we don't need to do. So we're tidying up our code a good bit here. Right, and this is going to equate to all of our monsters as well when we come to do them. We're going to be doing this, but it's working good. And there we go. Save that. Excuse me. Right. So that's a good bit of tidying up done. And do we have right, I'm just wondering if this is actually right, because there we're getting music, right? Now here's the thing. Right. That's fine. We want to look at our decal. And then basically sort that one out. Right, so when we set this up, right, we've got our footsteps attenuator and we want the volume multiplier, right? So we grab this, then we say volume multiplier, okay, and then we return SFX volume, and that goes in there, and that's awesome. That's all done. That gets the job done nicely. So we're going through most of our things here. So this should work a lot better. Okay. Save that. Do a save all on that one. And what we want to do next actually is we want to go to our traps. We want to go to our metal ball, and then what we'll do is we'll add an audio component to that. Right, now we're going to do something very, very similar, but first we need a sound. Right, so effect, we need like a electricity type sound. Electric fence type sound. Now the difficult part here is finding something that's actually free. That hasn't got that horrific sound.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Right, that was kind of that kind of works. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Tell me if you guys can hear that. Don't like that. Don't like that. Don't like that. Yeah, this is the one we liked. Right, I'm going to download this. And it is a WAV file. Right, so we've got our file. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut that, then go to imports, sound files, then we shall paste it, and we shall call it ball buzz. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll drag it into here, or we won't, depending on letting go at the button at the right time. So we have that. Then we're going to do create queue. That'll do. Then in here we're going to drop that in there. Then what we shall do is we'll get our audio component, and we'll set the volume multiplier, and that's going to come from return SFX volume. That's going to go in there. Right. And that's move orb and not begin play, so we'll go up. And where did that go? Here, right? We'll set this at the start. That'll do it. Save that. And then in here we're going to go grab the audio and we're going to set play. Right. and then immediately when it's completed, we're going to stop it. Okay. And we can drag that into there. Drag that to there and drop this down. That's good. And I don't think we're doing them anymore, but we'll just leave them there for now. Now, if we test this on map 2, sorry, map 1, right, if we test this on map 1, our little buzzy boys should start buzzing. Okay. Now that should not auto activate. So if we go to here, we do not auto activate. Right. We do need to do something here. Right, we need this not to be so uniform. Right. So what we want here is a random floating range. And in fact, we don't want that at all. Right. So we need to see if these actually keep moving at the same rate at the same time. I believe they will. So what I'm going to have to do is we are going to do random float in range, right? And we're going to say 4.35 to 4.65. Okay, so gradually they'll get further away from each other, but they're never going to get more than 4 seconds away from each other. Okay. I'm liking that. I'm liking that. It's pretty cool. What I'm going to have to do here is I'm going to have to I'm going to have to test these with headphones on, basically, because this sound should be like coming from different places, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for a cigarette. I'll be back in 2 minutes, and I'm going to stick the sound on for you guys so you can hear it better, right? And I'm also going to put my headphones on so I can hear it in 3D, or at least in stereo anyway. So if you're enjoying the stream, hit the like and subscribe. Check the description for my Discord, which you're welcome to join, and also for ways that you can support the channel, which would be fantastic. Through Patreon, get your name in the credits, or early builds of the game. And you can also check out my previous game on Steam, which even adding it to your wish list would help a lot. I shall be right back. Don't go anywhere, folks. Okay guys, we're back. Let's continue on. So, we've got our little balls, which are... Oh yeah, I was going to turn this on for you guys, wasn't I? Right, hang on. Okay, and I'm going to turn it on to my headphones. Let's make sure everything's still working on the stream. Looks like it is. Okay, let's try this out. Aren't very loud. Weirdly, I can't hear the sound effects. I can hear the music. Right, wait a minute. Okay. I think it's... No, that can't be right. Right, give me a second. I'm going to turn the headphones back off because there's something not right. Back in a second. Okay. So, headphones are off. Can you guys hear that out there? Can you hear the... Let me know if you guys can hear the buzz of the... Yeah, it's killed the sound. I don't know what's going on. No, there's something weird going on. It's, I couldn't hear the sound of the... Right, before I changed the headphones, I could hear the buzzing of the little metal balls, right? When they're moving, which is what I wanted it to do. But when I switched on to the headphones, I couldn't hear anything. Well, I could hear the music, and I could hear some of the sound effects, but I couldn't hear the other. The only thing I couldn't hear was the buzzing of the metal balls, right? I'll show you what I mean. And it sounds like you're getting the same effect. Right, so you can hear the pickup, okay? And now I can hear it. Hear it now? It's not loud, put it that way. It shouldn't be that loud, to be fair. Right, I want this guy to hit me. Now I should be able to run into him. Right, so you be able to hear that. Okay. Right, I can do something here, right? What I'll do is, if I go to the main menu, alright, then we go to the options and we turn the master volume up and we turn the FX volume right up. Right, we'll turn this down a bit, then apply, close, play game, right? Then we jump in here. Right, you should be able to hear it better now. Right, and I'll let you hear the pickups. Right. Right, so you should be able to hear it better now. Right, that was really weird. It just stopped playing. The sound of the right, that's not going to do anything to us just yet, because it's not set up as a trap. That was a test. Right, that's working better. Okay. Oh, that is. Right, so we've got one last thing to get, and now we can actually finish the level. And there is our sculpture-y thing. And there we go. Right, so that is obviously working a bit better now that I turned the volume up. Right, and we have a bit more sound going on now, obviously. Well, is there anything you guys want to see me working on, or let me know in the chat. I'm just basically tidying lots of things up at the moment. Now, right, we wanted to go to okay, so we want to go to our, I'm going to cut that down. We're going to go to our pawn, and we're looking at take damage, because take damage also plays a sound. And it doesn't, okay. Yeah, so we don't do this. So we can just basically say return SFX volume, and that goes into there. Now we probably don't need an attenuation on this, but okay, quasi. As I said, I'm not working on anything in particular tonight. I'm just kind of tidying things up and doing what I need to do. Right, but our metal balls are basically working how I want now. Kinda. This code here is probably going to go. And I do need some sound effects. But they are going to be very, very specific to what I'm trying to do, because I shall show you in our animation our monsters scream. Okay, so I have set up an animation, sorry, I've set up a notification or a notify that plays the scream, but at the moment it's more like, well, it is a laugh. They kind of just laugh. Right, I'm going to disable these for now, but as you can see, we've got an animation scream, and it's a play sound at location. I am working on something that is not unlike Dark Deception. It is my take on it. I have never played it. I was given a video of it and somebody said, well, actually they said, I want to make this game, and because I'm teaching them and I'm giving them tuition, I decided I would make the game myself so that I could answer any questions, and it's just gone from there. So it's Dark Deception. I believe it's kind of called a Backrooms game, if I'm not mistaken. So in here as well, we turn that to SFX volume. We leave everything else the same. So basically I need a scream for this. And right, we'll do it for the start just to make it nice for Mr. Pins and Needles, okay? We'll give him a run through. Okay, menu. The menu animated little guy does his thing, all of that stuff. Right, all of this works, credits. We can go to high scores. Not done the high scores yet, but it's all there ready to go. Then we've got options. We can adjust the audio, we can adjust the display, visuals. I'm going to do something with this, I'm not happy with that. Right, we've got key bindings, we can do all that. Give you your own keys, you can use whatever keys you want. And then gameplay, you can switch off head bob, you can look up and down if you want, you can invert X and Y if you want. I don't think I've actually implemented these yet, but it's easy enough to do. So that's about half an hour at the most, probably more like 10 minutes. So you can set all that stuff up, and then what you do is you go into your, you can see I've got look up and look down. It limits it so that you can't do anything stupid, right? But you've got head bob as well, you can turn that off and on. This is your staging area. It's just basically bookcases, which are procedurally generated books and stuff like that. You can go up here and there's a clock, stuff like that. There is going to be things happening. If you listen closely, actually the clock works. I programmed this for another game. You can see the second hand actually moves around in seconds and it tick-tocks and shit like that. Right? But the entries to the levels are these pictures, right? And they gradually open up as you do them, right? So if you've done a level and you've got a rating, it obviously gives you a rating in crosses, right? And that's the name of the level there, right? And then we've got our second level, right? And if you haven't done a level, then basically the picture does nothing, so it doesn't let you enter, right? These are all procedurally generated as well, so every time you come in here, that will be filled up with different things, different meshes. Right, so the thing I've been working on lately is one of these I've been working on traps, right? So you've got these metal balls, and the metal balls move about on the X and the Y, right? I can put these metal balls into any room, and they basically calculate the room size and then just start moving around about the room. But they can only move like a rook in chess, so they can only move on the X or on the Y, right? Ow. They can hit you, obviously. So the object, obviously, if you've seen one of these games, is to pick up all the pickups, right? And if we pick up all the pickups in the game, you gradually get faster. If you take too long between pickups, it resets your pickup thing, and you've got to pick up a certain number again to make it basically speed you up again, so you kind of lose speed, right? But if I pick up all the pickups, which I've just done there, it shows you on the map where to go to exit the map. Once you exit the map, it gives you a score, blah blah blah. Your guy starts disco dancing if you've actually managed to complete the level, right? Now for this wouldn't be good enough to actually unlock the level, right? You need 3 stars. So I'm going to get something different here where he just basically stands there and looks at you as if you're stupid, right? And then basically you get a score, time taken, pickups collected, lives left, ratings, blah blah blah, right? And then that takes you back and you can go and try another level, right? So this is a real level. It's actually a vampire hunter dance party. It's not a vampire. And you do know that Mixamo has, Thriller. Right? It has all the dance moves to Thriller. So I could actually have a set of vampires doing the Thriller dance. Right? All in unison. Right? Now, this is your normal one. We've got a trap there. Right, but this is where it gets kind of a bit more interesting. I'll show you the vampires first. Now I've got 3 sets of vampires, but we're only working with one at the moment. Right, the vampires can actually walk through doors. They can open doors. Right, the idea I've got for the disco dancing, right? I'm going to do this just now because I have to turn the monsters back on, right? The idea was I was going to get the wife to decide which dances on Mixamo are the best, right? So it would go from the worst to the best. So if you got a rubbish score, they would do a rubbish dance. And the better the score, the better the dance. At least that was my stupid idea, right? I was trying to bring a bit of, what's the word for it? Levity. No, it's the opposite of levity, isn't it? Right, but fundamentally, I need my monster, and I need to get his perception radius up so that he's actually going to bloody see me. Right, so we'll try that again. Play game. Well, to be absolutely pragmatic about it, Cybershell, I don't really care if it feels like a mod or a game. If it sells 1 million, I don't care what you call it. You can call it a POS if you want. Right, so now the monsters are actually going to get me if I go too close. Right. Now you'll notice, right, that lights change and lights go out and all the rest of it. And also, if I restart this level, if you notice the wallpaper actually changes as well. It's all procedurally generated, that part. And the decorations on the walls and stuff is procedurally generated. So even though the layout of the actual level will stay the same, you'll notice we've got different. I think I calculated it at over 3,500 different wallpapers you can possibly have. Right? But it's all done. It's all done with one little bit of code, right? It calculates it all and basically it's all dynamic materials, right? So if the bad guys get you, right, you'll see them on the map moving around. You can see it now on the star, right? Now it doesn't update every second, it updates every 2 seconds, right? And that's because, there, he's coming at me, right? And now it spins the camera around and he attacks me. Then I get thrown back to the start, okay? So that is the gameplay loop, apart from the fact that there's something else you can do here, right? In fact, I can demonstrate. And this is how fast, or if you set up your parts in Unreal Engine properly, you can well, the way I've done it, I can set up certain things really, really fast, right? So, for example, the slowest part of this whole thing is going to be actually loading this level, right? But if I want to test a stun, right, now what you can do is you can pick up stuns, and that allows you to stun the monster. So like, if you get caught by a monster and you think you're too close, you can quickly hit the space bar and stun them, right? And it basically knocks them out for 10 seconds, I believe, or 5 seconds or something. It's a number, right? It's a number. So what I can do is I can select this section, then I can basically go like that and say stun, right? And then basically when I run this level, which I can do by just pressing play, it's going to set it up so that it removes all the other pickups available and just gives me a stun, right? Which is that thing there, right? The little, and you'll notice when I pick it up, I get a little green 1. Okay? And that means I've got a stun ready to use. Now, if I go and then hit stun, you'll notice he just stands there and looks around. That's me stun them. Right, so now I can run away. Right, so that's another gameplay feature, I guess.
Kill me.
And these talk to you. Right, the graffiti on the walls talk to you sometimes, which is going to make it creepier, hopefully. Right, there's obviously going to be more monsters, right, and more traps and more stuff, right, but I've just put basically the minimal required in to test it, right. Now, I have, right, so he's going to come at me now, right, and then jump on me, and that's me dead, right. And you only get 3 lives. You've got 3 health that you can regenerate. Yes. Yes. The narrow corridors one is made up of these sections. So you've got a 4-way, which is basically a junction with, you know, coming out at right angles. Then you've got a door section, a door end section where I can switch off one of the ends. There's an end section like that, which is the end. Then there's a straight, which is all of these. Then there's a T-junction and a turn. A 90-degree turn. Now, this is just the sections for the first part. Okay, because there's a room, I've also made the room section part where I can actually open out into rooms, right? So basically that was for the metal ball one, right? You'll notice the metal ball one actually has open rooms, right? So this is just a small room test, right? But I've made a door that fits. You'll notice this is a room, so it's all open, right? So in effect, I can decorate this by putting like chairs and tables and stuff. And then what I can do is, if I select this section, I can switch this off entirely. Right, so this will not appear. So if I want to block that with a table and chairs, I can just switch off the pickup. And then that pickup will not be included in the count. And you won't need to pick it up, right? So now I've got more to play with. I've got open sections. I've got edge sections, I've got openings into a room, I've got doors into a room, and this is another trap, a fire trap, which is working, but that's the wrong version of it, so that doesn't actually do it. So basically, yeah, all I do is drop sections into here, right? So basically all I need to do is go to my layout parts, and if I want to drop a section in, like let's say we were going to do a straight, right? All I do is do that, then spin it maybe 90 degrees if I want the wood blocks to be there. It's Niagara. Usually when I'm making effects, I basically take an effect that I already have and then just amend it to my wishes, right? I know enough about Niagara and stuff to get the kind of effects I want. by basically butchering another one, right? So fundamentally, if I want to build a level, right, say I was going to do that, right, so what I do is set it to 180, I set the movement by 50, and that keeps everything in line, kinda, or makes it, damn, and I hate when I do that. Right, now if I'm not sure it's in line, all I need to do is look through. I normally don't need to do that very much, right? But say I wanted it to go left and right, all I do is basically grab a T-junction, slap that down, right? I set it to 0. I don't know why this has went way mental, like silly numbers there, right? But we can just basically reset it back to 0, 0, and then work on it from there. And then normally what I do for this point forward is I just duplicate things and then rotate it and then move it into position, right? So basically what I would do with this one is go like that, right? And I've moved the roof again instead of the whole damn thing. Right? And then basically I would duplicate that again. I would spin that 180. And I don't know why it keeps selecting the wrong thing. You see, it's done it again. It's having a moment. Right, and I just make sure there's no gap. The 50 keeps me right. Right, so we just select that and put it back. And now, you'll notice when I do this, if I run straight through here, right, our T-junction is here, right? And we have our T-junction, okay? They're modular with procedural decoration, okay? Right, so basically this picture and this light might not be there, right? We could have a light on the other side and a picture on that side, or we could have a light on one side and nothing on the other side, or we could have nothing at all, right? It just makes a bit more interesting for the player that the level isn't exactly the same every time, right? I mean, the level is because at the end of the day, if you're keeping a high score, right, it doesn't make sense to have procedural levels, right? That's my excuse for not having to do that, right? Because obviously different levels are going to be different sizes, they're going to have different difficulty depending on procedural stuff. So if you're doing like high scores and achievements and stuff, then you really want to keep the levels the same so that it's a level playing field, right? I don't know what's genius. I'm not a genius, mate. I'm just an ordinary guy that I just solve problems, right? I'm good at visualizing a problem and just working my way through it. As I say to all the people on my Discord, I basically say, just make the coffee, right? Split it up into the tasks. Get the water, put it in a kettle, switch on the kettle. Go to the cupboard, get the coffee, get a spoon, blah, blah, blah. Just do things in a straightforward manner, right? And just gradually work your way through the problems. Right? Now, I haven't showed you the really cool part yet, because it might not go in the game. I don't know if you've actually seen this or not, Cybershell. But teleporters. I've got teleporters, right? But because they're quite complicated, kinda, yes, you could. You could split a level into when levers are active or not, right? So you could have one level that's split into two parts, and there's a lever at one part that allows access to the second part, but you would only be able to access the second part if it's like, let's say, level 6. Right? So you could use the first part in level 2, right? But it would be available, the second part would be available in level 6, but you'd still have to go through the first part in level 2. So you could do that, right? Now, I have got the thing that does it. It is not, however, a lever. It's a teleporter, right? Where you can actually jump to a different level through a teleporter. Now, I only added that as I was showing somebody how to do something, right? They were saying the idea for the teleporter was not that, right? I'll show you the teleporter in a second. Right, but my idea for the teleporter was that you can jump from one place to another within the dungeon, right? Now, you can even do that and have two separate sections of a dungeon that are not physically connected, right? So what I'm saying is, and I can show you what I mean. Well, I'm not going to show you what I mean, but I can describe it at first. What I could do is have a whole section here that is not connected. Right? But they're connected by a teleporter. So that one teleporter here teleports you to another part of the dungeon. Okay? So the only way you can get to this part of the dungeon is through this teleporter, which is a really bloody good idea, actually. Right? Because that's going to confuse the hell out of people, and I love confusing people. So anyway, the point of the teleporter is that I took it out the game because I need to work on it basically destroys the frame rate. It certainly does in the editor, right? I don't know if it's going to do it in a final build or not, but I'll let you see what it does anyway, and you're going to be quite probably blown your socks off with this. Right, so I'm going to put it in level 2. And the reason that it's so hard on performance is because I wanted to make it as cool as I could, right? I tend to go with things I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool, I'm going to put it in the game, right? And then I worry about it afterwards. So basically what I do is I try and make it. Right, now teleporters in my modular way connect to each other, right? Through basically a setting in the editor. So you're going, oh my god, what is that? Well, what it is, it's a security camera. Right? And I'm going to have to switch this off of 50 again. I'm not going to place this perfectly, right? I'm just going to make sure you can see what it's doing. So you can see that it actually shows an image of what it's kind of pointing at, right? So it looks and feels like a security camera. Now, the reason I did that was because if you jump in a teleporter and you can't see on the other side, how do you know that there's not a monster there and it'll immediately kill you? Right? So I thought, well, do it like a security camera so that you can see what's on the other side of the teleporter. So basically, that's kind of what I did. Right? So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to place our second teleporter. Now, the first teleporter has got an index of 0. So if I put another teleporter here, let's say I put it here, right? Then it's going to find its companion teleporter. Basically the other one with 0 on it, right? And then they're going to reference each other. And then when you look in one, it will show you the second one. And vice versa, right? So what we should see, and then the camera will basically move from side to side to show me what's up and down this corridor, right? So, and if I was to jump into the other teleporter, I would pop out this one, right? Which basically means that I can see where I'm jumping to, so that I'm not going to endanger myself by jumping straight into a monster. Okay, so we'll go and look at that. And look, you can see down the corridor. Yeah, it's real time. So if a monster comes down here, you'll see him. Right, and he's at, I think he's actually down at the end there. So it's like a security camera. Right? So if I now go up to that, I can jump. And it jumps me to here. Right? And then I've not brought that one far enough out, so I can't interact with it. But you'll notice that that's where it came out. Right? But unfortunately, I've buggered it up. Right? Because it's not far enough out for the wall. I told you I wouldn't get this right. So it's all your guys' fault, basically. Right, so if we do this again, right, I'll try to get to it so that we can see his. See, there he is. See, monster walking up and down. So we know there's nothing there, so we can jump through. And it won't allow me to do anything just yet. Right? And now I can jump back. And that's me back where I started. Pretty cool, huh? But as I said, it tanks frame rate. Which I'm trying to, oh there you can see the bad guy walking about, but you'll notice he's nowhere here. So it's obviously in the other camera. Oh, somebody's coming to get me. Dead. And there we go. Now he's still here, which is a bit of a problem. Right, and it'll screw up because I've not done anything with what do you mean? At what point do you mean? Am I changing the world position? When he dies, yes. I've got to do some sort of a fade in, fade out type thing. And I've also got a setting where I can send the monster back to its home. Right, so probably when the player dies, I'm going to send the monsters back home to their starting point. At which point they'll start just wandering about again. Right? Well, there you go. Rundown of the game. And I think I'll call it at that. I hope you've enjoyed it, pins and needles. We've actually got a few things done tonight, and I've showed you some other stuff. The portal has a scene component in it that is basically here, right? At a right angle to our portal, right? So I just basically I don't need to do that. All I need to do is get this. The portal does it. The portal does it itself, right? The portal knows where its partner is, right? So it just finds the reference to the partner and teleports it to the scene component of its partner, right? Which is basically, if I show you, I'm pretty sure it does it that way. Right, so if we interact, this is it here, right? If it's a level jumper, then I'll open to a level so it can be done. Right, otherwise I just get my pawn and I get the target location. And the target location, right, is here. Right, so I just basically teleport them to here. And because of the way that it's set up, it's always in the middle of the corridor because you're facing away from the wall, so it's always X amount of X, and well, it's actually X. It's 88 on the X away from here. And so just basically teleport them to this position here, right? And then set them at Z0, I believe, and that should do it. That does it. Simple answer is always the best. I just get the actor current Z, and then I just move them to that target location on the X and Y, and that's it. Done. I don't need to reference anything else. All I need to do is cut my current Z and then the portal. Well, you can make it render how you want. I'm just using a render target because when I first thought of the idea of teleporter, and then as I said, I've been developing for 40 years, I think of the problems first, and especially with games, I think of like, okay, what's a problem? If you can't see where you're teleporting to, it's unfair, right? You could be jumping straight to your death, okay? Now, what Cyber Shell was saying earlier, if you teleport to another part of the dungeon and there's no other way of getting there, then that's not fair, right? It's not a fair way to do it. You have to be able to see that it's safe to go there, right? Now, if you've not got time and it has to be a split decision, then fine. You're not going to have time to stand and watch the teleporter anyway. Now, remember, there's a time limit on the game, so you can't stand there and wait forever on the teleporter and to be 100% safe. But to me, it felt unfair that you'd be jumping into the, you'd be jumping blind. So it seemed to me that the best idea was to stick a render target stick a camera on the other side and basically transmit that view to the other teleporter. So they both do that, right? They show each other's, right? So I think that's a logical and fair way to do a teleporter, right? If you want to use it blind, you can just jump straight in. If you don't, you can take your time and find out if there's a bad guy there. Right? So, there's no perfect answer. But what I've found is doing the multiple render targets and stuff destroys frame rate. So that's why I basically took them out of the game at that point. Yeah, you could do it that way as well. Well, actually, it is. Right? Because if I move this out, right, you'll notice that there's nothing on the other side. It doesn't render on the other side, so it just looks like normal. So you can see through it from the other side. Right, so it would actually look like a hole. Right, now I could set it up as a two-sided. Yeah, I could set the material up as two-sided. And then it just depends what effect you're going for. Now, the way I'm doing it, I'm sticking it on a wall. So that kind of doesn't come into play. Right, see this part here, this second collision box, this is the box that actually you interact with, that allows you to jump inside it. Hi Ken, by the way. Ken, Mr. Googly Eyes. Right, but I'm going to call it for tonight. I have to run to the shop. If you've enjoyed it, the content, hit like and subscribe, that helps a lot. Also, in the description, there's a link to my previous game on Steam. Even just looking it up, adding it to your wish list, helps a lot. There's a link to my Patreon where you can get your name in the credits of this game, and you can get early builds and stuff. And also a link to my Discord, which you are perfectly welcome to join. I shall be back tomorrow, 2 PM. And I hope you can join us again, pins and needles. You are most welcome. So thank you all for watching, and bye bye for now. Time to run and get beer.